Hey guys, so for my next video, I thought that instead of following up with a video on my adulthood, which would be totally overwhelming and it would take all day, that I would kind of break down the DSM criteria and the ones that I meet and those behaviors that I display. And first, I'll start off by saying that the DSM 4, which is going to be updated to the DSM 5 in May, has 9 criteria for borderline, and that only 5 of them need to be present. And I'll read to you the definition. It's a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image and affect, which means, emotion, and marked impulsivity beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. The first is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. The second is a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. And that kind of fits in with the black and white thinking. And then the third is identity disturbance, which is a markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. The fourth is impulsivity in at least 2 areas that are potentially self-damaging. Spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating are examples that they give. The fifth is recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, threats, or self-mutilating behavior. The sixth is affective instability, which just means emotion instability due to a marked reactivity of mood. Intense periodic dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety, usually lasting a few hours and rarely lasting more than a few days. Those are the examples they give. The seventh is a chronic feeling of emptiness, which I kind of feel like ties into the third, which is identity disturbance, at least for me, but whatever. The eighth is inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger, which examples are frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent physical fights. And 9 is transient stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. Then they give this blurb on this big long blurb that I'm not gonna read because it's just way too long. If you want to read it, I'll include the link below after this video. So the first one that I'll discuss is frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. And that has its roots, again, in my childhood. And I do this as an adult a lot, especially with men. As I touched on before, my sense of self is poor, which is actually, I believe, the third criteria. But that kind of plays a role in why I'm abandoned and why I constantly fear I'm going to be abandoned, because I create lies to make people like me, and I, exaggerate, and I divulge too much information. Excuse me, that's a kitten. To bring people closer to me. And usually this ends up blowing up in my face. And, then obviously stable guys, and I'm not saying that this should be the case, where stable guys don't want to get involved with borderline women, because, a lot of us are really great, at least the ones that are in therapy and recognize their behavior. But most men, stable men, don't want to put up with that. So they hightail it, and at that point, for me, I get really clingy and very manipulative. I'll concoct just crazy stories, you know, to keep them around or to explain my behavior, whatever I did to, you know, upset them. In one instance, I found out the number of this guy who was dating his ex-girlfriend and text messaged her, and then made up a lie that it was my friend who did it, because she cared for me so much and that she didn't want to see me hurt by him, which was total bullshit. And that ended up blowing up in my face because my friend made me admit to him that I was in fact lying, and I tried to manipulate her into believing that I did tell him the truth, and she's like, no, 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 you're going to do it in front of me. So that was one instance. I do a lot of crazy stuff with like ex-girlfriends. I don't know what my issue is with that, but I find a way to push guys away by harassing their exes or doing crazy stuff like that, and then concocting these stupid stories to kind of explain, you know, the situation and get them to come closer to me, which usually just drives them further away. In some cases, you know, actually, I don't think I've ever threatened to self-harm, except with this one guy, and I suspect he was borderline too, just because he was so unstable in his moods and he was just completely unpredictable. So I would have a little bit of fun manipulating him. Um, and I just get really clingy and really obnoxious. And sometimes I have these men who just want to sleep with me, and I'll give them that. But then I'll want to be more, just so I can have that feeling of being cared about. And what ends up happening is that they don't want that, and I'll end up feeling hurt and doing something, you know, saying something or doing something to upset them, and then they'll want to leave, and then I'll just get real clingy. I can also get a little stalkerish, I guess. And again, this is a disclaimer. This is just me. I cannot speak for all borderline women because some of them don't do that. I wouldn't say like stalkerish and showing up at your job and sending you like crazy messages, but I'll, like, you know, analyze your Facebook profile to a T to see, you know, who you're talking to and who's commenting on your pictures and who you could be sleeping with or who you could not be sleeping with. I just do a lot of impulsive, reckless things to destroy relationships. And then when I destroy them, of course, I do whatever I have to hold on to them. So that is how I meet the first criteria. I am especially hypersensitive. Even if the abandonment hasn't occurred, I'm hypersensitive to the abandonment, and that pushes people away. I always feel like people are not genuine and that they're not going to stick around and that there's some flaw in me. And that's me just projecting onto them. And, you know, I can be very destructive in that way. So I think manipulation, which typifies some borderlines, that's how it mostly plays out with my fear of abandonment, and lies and things like that. I just have issues. I have total issues with that. I don't want people to dislike me. I don't want them to not approve of me. And when they do, it's very stressful. I can find myself in bed for days. Although with therapy, I've definitely gotten better. Okay, so that's just my little snippet on my fear of abandonment and my experience with it. I might update it with other research studies on abandonment and borderlines and other examples from other borderlines, but tonight I have to study. I've been procrastinating. Alright, so I'll talk to you guys later.